I just want to remind our viewers that not only did you become a target of vicious trolls on Twitter, as a result of Gamergate, your harassers came after you in person and tried to, physically harm you. In the wake of that, you helped Twitter shape its moderation policies. How do you feel about handing that over now to Elon Musk?
Well, I'm obviously very, very concerned. Something I talked about to NBC News this week was kind of the history of Twitter's moderation policies improving in the wake of Gamergate. I talked to Del Harvey and a lot of other people at Twitter from really extensively, from about 2014 until about 2018, trying to basically fix some of the things that went wrong at Twitter. And something I really want to stress to everyone watching you on Bloomberg is ultimately this was a UX problem we were trying to solve, a user experience problem. This was not political. It was not a left versus right screaming match. This was people on Twitter are having a bad user experience and we need to fix it. So I'm really worried that all the progress we made to basically let a lot of people use this service and not get death threats, rape threats, their personal information published. I'm extremely concerned that's going to take a step backwards. And because this is Bloomberg, I think ultimately that's going to really affect Twitter's stock price and their profitability.
If you could give Elon Musk some advice, what would it be?
I think the main thing I would say is listen to the professionals on the trust and safety team. I cannot emphasize to you enough, these are data-driven professionals. They're not ideologues. They sit there and they comb through literally large reams of data every single day, trying to figure out how to make the product better, what the shortcomings are. It's almost like cyber warfare in a sense, where you have trolls poking at the defenses of Twitter's trust and safety policies all day and trying to figure out how to get around it. I would say listen to those professionals. What concerns me is, judging from his tweets, it seems like he's coming in with basically a political crusade that he's trying to bring to the platform, rather than just trying to empower his professionals that are trying to solve this from a non-political point of view.
Now, Elon Musk is inarguably an innovator and has, brought some of the most difficult ideas in history to fruition. Why shouldn't we think he could actually make Twitter better?
Well, if we were talking about making a tech product, I think I would have a lot more faith in him. I think it's also worth saying Elon Musk is also someone that makes really big promises that don't seem to go anywhere. If you listen to him, we're going to have Optimus robots, these fully autonomous robots that can act with artificial intelligence and walk around on two legs. Those will be out, I believe, next year, according to his public statements. He said Tesla will be a fully self-drivable car every single year for the last 6 years. I think there's a real credibility gap when it comes to his very large pronouncements on this. And something else I really want to stress, Emily, ultimately, most of the policies that changed at Twitter happened because the Twitter leadership was invested in it. From 2014 to about 2018, they were very incentivized, not just from users, but from the stock price to address harassment. If you remember, they tried to sell themselves to, I believe it was ABC and Disney at one point, Twitter did, and the deal fell through in part because of the congenital harassment on the platform. So, ultimately, this isn't just a user safety issue, it's a stock price issue.
Now, Jack Dorsey just posted a long Twitter thread taking responsibility for mistakes. He has, talked a little bit about the handling of the New York Post article, mentioning Hunter Biden. But of course, there are many, many other issues that Elon Musk seems to be taking issue with. Jack says a transparent system, both in policy and operations, is the right way to earn trust, whether it's owned by a company or an open protocol doesn't matter, as much as deliberately deciding to be open about every decision and why it was made. It is not easy to do, but it must happen. What do you think he means by that? And is it really possible?
I don't know how possible it is, but I think it's a good ideal to strive for. I think a lot of the misconceptions about the trust and safety policy happen because there is this veil between what happens on that team and the public. I find it very notable in my work with them. I was really encouraged to not speak about it ever. I only spoke about it this week because I felt the stakes were so high and that it was, worth kind of talking about my experiences on that team because of this misconception that, it's a bunch of Democratic people behind the scenes trying to silence conservatives. Absolutely not my experience at all. I think that if we had these policies applied more transparently, I think that that would be good for getting the trust of all users. What I find is so interesting, Emily, is from my perception, if you look at Twitter and their ability to address things that we all agree should not be on that platform, things like death threat and rape threats, I think they do a much better job than many of their competitors. They certainly do better than Facebook and Reddit, but they've never really gotten the public credit, I feel, that they deserve for that. I think that being more open with that would definitely help it.
I would say in my own experience as a user, Twitter's moderation has gotten better, at least from my perspective and the tweets that I personally see. I think the folks who are really excited about Elon's vision seem to think that Twitter has made a lot of political decisions over the last several years. Even Jack himself says, he generally isn't a fan of banning someone, and Twitter is the platform that banned President Trump permanently. Do you think the decisions that Twitter has made are political or were politicized?
When I come on your show, I try not to make things partisan, but since you asked, I'll tell you my honest impression. In Gamergate, I felt that these policies were the alt-right versus normal people, right? It was the trolls versus just professionals trying to get their job done. I think, unfortunately, since 2016, we have seen these issues become partisan as some people are kind of becoming their worst selves online. So I think, unfortunately, this has become another left versus right screaming match. I can't think of any problem in America that's gotten better when it's become a partisan screaming match rather than a problem to solve.